It's Sunday afternoon. Your friends are gathering around the television, already deep into a conversation about last week's game, next week's matchup, roster changes, statistics you've never memorized. Someone hands you a beer. You sit down, you watch, and somewhere in the first 15 minutes, you realize you're not actually watching the game at all. You're watching people watch the game. You're observing the room, the reactions, the sudden bursts of emotion over something that happened on a screen. And then comes the question, inevitable as gravity. So what do you think about the trade? You smile. You say something vague. You're pleasant. But inside, there's a quiet awareness that you're performing a role in a script you never auditioned for. Here's what most people assume about you, that you're either pretentious, disconnected, or quietly judging everyone else for caring so much, that you think you're above it, that you don't understand community or passion or loyalty. But what if the truth is something else entirely? What if your brain is simply organized around a different set of priorities, and what looks like indifference from the outside is actually a deeply consistent form of attention? Let's start by clearing away the usual stereotypes, because they obscure more than they reveal. You're not necessarily an introvert. Plenty of people who don't follow sports are wildly social, just not around scoreboards. You're not incapable of loyalty or passion. You might be ferociously dedicated to a podcast, a book series, a local theater group, a political cause. And you're not intellectually superior. Some of the most brilliant people alive can recite batting averages from 1987. Intelligence has nothing to do with this. What we're really talking about is selectivity. Your attention is not infinite. Nobody's is. And somewhere along the way, your brain decided that the outcome of professional games played by strangers in distant cities was not worth the ongoing cognitive investment required to care. This is not apathy, it's allocation. Psychologists have long understood that attention is a limited resource. We only have so much mental bandwidth, and every sustained interest requires maintenance. Following a sports team means tracking seasons, players, statistics, narratives, injuries, rivalries. It means emotional investment in outcomes you cannot control. It means building an identity around something external to your immediate life. For some people, this investment feels natural, even necessary. The psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who spent his career studying flow states and intrinsic motivation, found that people are happiest when they're engaged in activities that feel internally meaningful. For millions, sports provide that. The communal experience, the unpredictability, the ritualized drama, it's compelling. But here's the part that gets overlooked. Intrinsic motivation is personal. What feels meaningful to one nervous system might feel arbitrary to another. And if sports never triggered that internal sense of mattering for you, no amount of cultural pressure will make them suddenly feel essential. This isn't stubbornness, it's honesty. Sports occupy an unusual space in modern culture. They're one of the few remaining secular rituals that bring entire communities together. In many social contexts, especially among men, sports fluency functions as a kind of currency. It's how you signal belonging, it's small talk, it's bonding, it's how strangers become friends at a bar. And if you don't have that currency, you're often left on the outside of certain conversations, certain relationships, certain professional networks. The anthropologist Clifford Geertz once wrote about Balinese cockfighting as a way communities told stories about themselves. Sports serve a similar function. They're not just games, they're shared narratives, identity markers, ways of processing wins and losses that feel safer than the ones happening in your actual lives. So when you don't participate, it's not just that you're skipping a game, you're stepping outside a system of meaning that many people rely on. And that can feel lonely. But let's talk about what's actually happening inside your head while everyone else is debating playoff predictions. Your attention didn't disappear, it relocated. Maybe you're the person who can remember entire conversations from 3 years ago. Maybe you notice when someone's mood shifts before they say a word. Maybe you've read the same novel 5 times because the sentences do something to you that a highlight reel never could.
Maybe you're tracking political movements, or bird migration patterns, or the subtle differences between regional coffee roasting styles. Your brain is designed to find patterns, build expertise, and create meaning. It just found a different domain to do that in. There's a concept in psychology called optimal distinctiveness theory. It suggests that humans have two competing needs, the need to belong and the need to be unique. We want to fit in, but we also want to be ourselves. For people who don't follow sports, there's often a quiet comfort in being slightly outside the mainstream, not in a rebellious way, just in a way that feels true. And truthfulness, even when it's inconvenient, has its own kind of integrity. Here's where it's worth pausing and asking yourself a question, not to diagnose anything, but just to notice. When you're in a room full of people emotionally invested in a game, what are you actually feeling? Is it relief, like you're free from something that would otherwise consume you? Is it curiosity, genuine interest in why this matters so much to others? Or is it a kind of loneliness, a wish that you could feel what they're feeling just to be part of it? There's no wrong answer, but the distinction matters because it tells you something about whether your disinterest is a natural alignment with your values or a subtle form of self-protection. Let's be clear about something. Not caring about sports is completely fine, but using that disinterest as a shield against connection is different. If you genuinely don't find sports compelling and you've built a rich life around other interests and you can sit in a room of fans without feeling superior or isolated, then you're probably exactly where you need to be. But if you're avoiding sports because you're afraid of looking foolish, or because you've decided that people who care about them are shallow, or because you're protecting yourself from the vulnerability of caring about something you can't control, then the issue isn't really sports, it's something deeper. The philosopher Simone Weil once wrote that attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity, and sometimes giving attention to what others love, even if you don't love it yourself, is a way of saying, I see you, I'm here with you, your joy matters to me, even if I don't fully share it. That doesn't mean you have to fake enthusiasm, it just means you can be present without performing indifference. There's a particular kind of confidence that comes from knowing what you care about and what you don't. It's not loud, it's not performative, it's just steady. In a world that's constantly trying to tell you what should matter, deciding for yourself is a quiet form of resistance. And people who don't obsess over sports have often done that deciding early, sometimes without even realizing it. They've looked at the available options for where to direct their limited attention, and they've chosen something else. That's not disconnection, that's clarity. The writer David Foster Wallace once said that the real freedom is being able to choose what to pay attention to. And maybe that's what this is really about. Not sports versus no sports, not superiority versus community, just the simple, difficult work of building a life around what actually feels meaningful to you, even when that puts you slightly outside the circle. So the truth underneath all of this is, you're not broken for not caring about sports. You're not missing an essential human experience. You're not antisocial or cold or intellectual elitist. You're just someone whose attention found a different home. And in a culture that's often measuring connection by how much you know about last night's score, choosing to invest yourself elsewhere takes a certain kind of courage. The courage to be slightly misunderstood, the courage to explain over and over that it's not that you don't care about anything, you just care about other things. That's enough. That's always been enough. If this resonated with you, the next video explores something adjacent, the psychology of people who need solitude to process emotion. Because once you start understanding how your attention works, you start noticing all the other ways your inner world is quietly, beautifully different. I'll see you there.